Hi, today we're going to talk about the O.P.A.L principle, which is a system for managing behaviour in physical activity sessions. We want you to enjoy the sessions, and your enjoyment and the effectiveness of the session that you're delivering will have a direct correlation to the behaviour standards in the session. The more engaged the children are in your session, the better the behaviour will be, and the more you will enjoy the session. We've got 4 key headings for behaviour management in PE and physical activity, and we call this the O.P.A.L principle. These are organisation, positive expectations, appropriate challenges, and lead by example. And we'll go through each one by one. Organisation first. This really is key to getting the most out of your sessions. Have an information line, which is a designated area that the children go for group explanations. That way they can all see you and they can all hear you. Use clearly defined areas and set up activities in an organised way. Colour coding is your friend. Use it all the time. It's so easy for children to understand. Go to a red cone, go to a yellow cone. Check your equipment in your area before the session, so you're carrying out your risk assessment. And use simple techniques to stop the activity so that children can get ready to listen. So be very consistent with these actions. I use, if you see me with one arm in the air, I want you to stop, stand still where you are and listen. If you see me with 2 arms in the air, I want you to go back to the information line. I find that works really well because I don't have to shout at the children, and 1 or 2 children see what I'm doing, they react, and it spreads across the group without anybody having to shout. Use bibs to separate teams. And when you're doing that, make sure that everybody is bibbed up or nobody is bibbed up, because you will always have the conversation with children, we don't want to be on the bib team, or we don't want to wear bibs. If everybody's wearing bibs, that doesn't happen, and it avoids a little bit of a flashpoint. Organise your teams appropriately and fairly. Don't have one team full of very sporty kids who will absolutely win every game. It's not fair. It doesn't do anybody any favours. Let's make it competitive. Let's mix the good players up. Let's mix everybody up so they all get an opportunity to develop, and make sure that everybody's getting an opportunity to take part in the games. Be in a good position. So coaching position, teaching position for physical activity sessions is enormously important. You should be able to scan the entire group all the time. Even when you're talking specifically to one child or one group, you need to position yourself in a way that you can see the whole session behind them. Give clear, concise instructions. Try not to talk for too long, to give too many details. Get the kids moving and make sure they're all engaged. The last thing for organisation is definitely have a plan, but don't be afraid to adapt it if you have to. If it's not working, try something else. Back onto the colour coding side of things, we want to give you a couple of examples of how that can help. So here's an example session. What we're going to do is, we've got our information line, which is telling the children to stand between the blue cones. And our activity is we're going to work in pairs. So we're saying to the children, player 1 on a white cone facing outwards, and player 2 goes on an orange or purple cone facing their partner. In our second activity, we're playing a team game where we want that half the class behind orange cones and half the class behind purple cones. So now what we can say to the children is pick up the white cones, and then we can move on to our next activity. There's no setup, we're ready to go. Once we've done that team game, we're now going to look at activity 3, which is using the full area. So we want to remove the orange and the purple cones. Again, really quick to get going. You can say to the kids, pick up the orange and the purple cones, and then you've got your big space. Activity 4, we're going to ask the children, if you feel you've improved at the skill, can you run to the blue line? If you think you've stayed the same, run to the green line, and if you've got worse, run to the red line. It's a great way for us to see if the children have understood the learning objective and if they feel like they've developed. It will help us do interventions almost straight away. We can say, why don't you spend a little bit more time at lunchtime practicing the skill we've been working on? Another setup for a session. This looks random, but it's not. The information line in this session is between the 2 yellow cones, so that's where the children are going to stand when we're explaining what we're going to do. Activity 1 is go to any colour cone on the inside of the square, and you'll see that there are 6 different coloured cones in 6 groups. When they get there, give each group a handball and they've got to pass to other people on their group in their little circles. Activity 2, every time you've passed it, you need to travel to another group and go to your colour. So if you were on red in group 1, you pass the ball, you then travel to be a red in another one of the groups. Activity 3, we're going to play round robin matches. So we're going to say to the children, can you pick up your cone and then go to your goal? Now you've been setting up the goals while they've been playing the passing game. So you can see that the reds can all go to the red goals, the whites can all go to the white goals, and the purples can all go to the purple goals, and that's the goals that they're going to defend in a game against the team that is facing them. So you've got a team set up that's fair because the groups are all mixed up now. It's ready to go, your pitches are ready to go, and your setup's been really easy to establish. The P is for positive expectations. Tell the children that you have high expectations of them, that you want them to achieve and feel proud of themselves. Give them clear boundaries, and don't threaten sanctions that you can't or won't follow through. Don't lower your standards to allow children to get to you. Maintain your cool and your calm, and remember that you're the adult. Sometimes they're trying to get to you. Celebrate their achievements. Shout praise and whisper admonishments. And by that I mean if you see something good, shout it so the whole group can see that as an example. If you see something that's not so good, get that child to come over to you and quietly have a word with them about your expectations and what they should be working on. Try and get them back on task. Allow the children to demonstrate good practice. So if you see something good, get them to show all the class what they're doing. And give lots of praise. Tell parents and teachers and head teachers in front of the children about the successes that you've seen. The A is appropriate challenges, and this is about how you differentiate your PE and physical activity lessons to meet the needs of all the children and how to keep them engaged. In my experience, children misbehave for a wide number of reasons. They do not know or care about the rules. They want to get your attention, good or bad. They're scared of being seen to fail, or they're bored because they are not being challenged. Make sure you start everybody off with something that they can achieve. Then you can praise them loudly for achieving it. Then push them to challenge themselves to find the next progression. If you can do this securely 5 times, try something else. Try and make it harder for yourself, and you'll find that the children push themselves and challenge themselves at an appropriate level. The entire group can be working on a similar skill, but they can all be working at the right level for them to keep them engaged and entertained. Because, as we've said earlier, when they get bored or when they find something too easy or when they can't do something, that's when behaviour goes awry. The L of that O.P.A.L principle is lead by example. The kids will take their lead from how you behave. If you look like you're enjoying the lesson, then so will they. Model great behaviours and make sure you remember your manners when you're asking children to do things, and treat them with the respect at all times. If you don't, you can't expect it to come the other way. Be consistent and be fair. And don't forget, don't ask children to do things that you aren't prepared to do yourself. So if you want them to behave like a chicken or walk like a tiger, you have got to demonstrate that first. You shouldn't ask children to do anything that you're not happy enough to do first, especially if it might embarrass them. Let them see that it's fun and something to be a little bit silly with, rather than something to be embarrassed about. And be enthusiastic and positive all the time. Don't shout or get involved in arguments with children. Identify what the problem is and speak to the children calmly and clearly. You're leading by example. So you stay calm, they stay calm. You're enthusiastic, they're enthusiastic. If you're happy that they are developing their skills, then they'll be happy that they're developing their skills. Let's put all this together. O.P.A.L. Organisation, positive expectations, appropriate challenges, and lead by example. There are lots of keywords there that remind us of the slides that we've already looked at, but at the very centre of the diagram is happy, active, and engaged. And those are the three things we want you to focus on for your lesson. That's what we want the children to be, and that's what we want you to be. When I was doing the presentation, we had a couple of interesting questions, so I've decided to include those into this slideshow. The first one was how to deal with a child having a meltdown. Now, we've all seen this. It's the end of the child's world and everything's falling apart, everything's going wrong, everything's against him. He's ranting, raging, kicking equipment around. He's looking to you to calm him down and to reassure him that everything's actually okay and that you will sort out whatever problem he has. You stay calm and follow your policies and avoid getting into a shouting match, and things will calm down. If it escalates and he's putting himself at risk or other children at risk, then get some of your sensible children to go get a couple of other adults from the nearby classrooms. The best way to deal with meltdowns is to avoid them in the first place. Now that's about knowing your children and knowing the things that are flashpoints and triggers. It might be that children don't work particularly well together, or that one child has a real problem sharing. So let's reward positive behaviours, take little steps to avoid those triggers and to remove those flashpoints for the children over a longer period of time. But what you can also do is within a session is you can spot things coming. If you're in the right position and within earshot of that group where you think the flashpoint might happen, you can tend to hear it building up. And then what you can do is do an intervention before it escalates to a point of no return. By this, I mean you could pull a child out and have a quiet word with them. Ask them how they're doing. Ask them to reorganise your cones. Give them a task to help you. Can they spot good activity? Can they spot good practice? Could they help referee one of the matches? Talk to them. Calm them down. Reset and send them back into the group with your expectations established. You don't want them to get upset. They don't want to get upset. So help them. And help yourself by being in a position and being alert enough and aware enough of what's coming next. Get really good at predicting what will happen if we do the next step of the lesson, and solve problems before they even happen. Next question was, what if I don't have time to set up? Now this refers back to our organisation area. The first thing I would suggest you do is set up your information line. So put down 2 cones and say to the children, this is where I want you to stand, this is our information line today. So they're all in a nice organised straight line, they're not pushing into each other, they're not bumping into each other, and they can all see and listen. And more importantly, you can see and listen to them. So you could be setting up your rest of your cones facing your information line. Keep it simple and keep it colour coded. If you are organised, this will be really straightforward to do. A couple of tips on setting up your session and working through your session is that if you are progressing an activity within the same setup, get them to freeze where they are and listen to you. So we use the one arm in the air is for freeze. If you need to change the setup and put more cones out, get the kids back to the information line using the 2-arm signal. Then you can put your cones and equipment where you need them. Use the children to help you. So if it's a question of collecting all the yellow cones in, say to the children, can you please all collect a yellow cone and go back to the information line? Sometimes I get them on the information line, set up, say, a blue line of cones, and then say to a couple of the children, could you please put a tennis racket next to each blue cone? This allows me to return to talk to the group, and the kids love to help. So I've covered there just a couple of questions that came in the presentation. If you have any more, any specifics that you'd like to talk about, please feel free to email me at the address on screen. You can also check out our website for our other contact details, and you can follow us on Twitter. Thanks for watching. We put lots of resources on SpiralPE, we put lots of resources on our YouTube channel, and we're always active on Twitter and Facebook to let the community know what's happening in all things PE, school sport and physical activity. We work with schools across the country and we want to help get more kids more active more often. Thanks for watching.